Dude, the new Star Wars movie comes out today.
Dude, it's April. That movie's been out for like 6 months. Everyone dies. I mean, spoiler alert, it's pretty cool.
It's April? What else have I missed?
Donald Trump is the President of the United States.
Oh.
Catch me outside, how about that?
Oh. Well, certainly it can't get any worse. Ah! Anywho, I want to talk about a certain aspect of Star Wars, the bounty hunters. Whenever someone mentions a bounty hunter from Star Wars, we immediately think of Boba Fett, first introduced in The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, excuse me, Boba Fett first appeared in animated form in the 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special. Get your facts straight.
Anyway. But why is that? Why do we associate so closely to a character that only had 5 measly lines in the original saga? Maybe that was because of nostalgia, or because most Star Wars fans saw his appearances first. But you honestly see him everywhere, whether it be on card decals, art, or pop vinyl figures. However, when I think of bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe, my mind immediately goes to Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Star Wars Bounty Hunter, developed by LucasArts in 2002, was released on the GameCube and PS2 console. What still confuses me is how it wasn't released on the Microsoft Xbox. This seems like it would have been a great game on that edgy and more powerful new console. It stars the deadliest bounty hunter in all of the Star Wars universe. This guy. Well, until that. This game takes place between The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. More like Attack of the Groans, am I right?
That's right, baby. This is gonna happen.
I'm gonna take.
So creeped out.
Sidious contacts Count Dooku about his sinister ideas for a clone army, and also mentions the arise of the Bando Gora cult that is resurfacing and trying to be some real poopers. Just a side note, these cutscenes are actually pretty amazing. The art style, level of detail, and great voice acting just fits the Star Wars aesthetic so perfectly. It honestly looks like an early PS3 or Xbox 360 game, and for 2002, this is actually pretty impressive. Anywho, that's just the opening scene. We then cut to a beast fighting pit where Jango Fett is hunting the space criminal Miko Gindi, everyone's favorite space criminal. After Miko runs away... Wait a second. I'm having deja vu here. Never mind. I lost it. This game's story starts out pretty decent, but it does get more complex. Throughout the game, you encounter rival bounty hunters. One of them is Moncross, this Vin Diesel-looking dude who was voiced by Clancy Brown, which you may remember by the #1 grumpiest-looking photo on Wikipedia. He also voiced Neo Cortex in the Crash Bandicoot series and Mr. Krabs. Also, Jango Fett teams up with a fellow bounty hunter, and the game shows how he met Zam Wesell, which is giving you some backstory to the upcoming Attack of the Clones movie. One thing that does fall flat a bit are the controls. They're decent, but not great. Like most third-person shooters from the PS2 era, the camera can get a little buggy sometimes, whether that be locking in place when you don't need it to and going all over the place when you want it to. But I feel like most third-person shooters from this time didn't really get that concept down just yet. I should probably head to the infamous issue of the campaign. There is 6 chapters, each chapter containing 3 levels. The opening levels are nice, sweet, easy fun. But once you get to the 3rd chapter, it goes as difficult as Asian parents during finals week. The enemies get stronger, more enemies on screen coming from multiple angles, it becomes a nightmare. This is the difficulty curve. It gets difficult from this point onward. It really draws the line between difficult and unfair. It's just so close enough that you want to keep on going, but not so much that you want to rage quit and break your PS2. You start with 6 lives per level, so if you lose all 6, you must restart from the beginning of the level. One thing that's interesting is that in these 6 lives, when you kill an enemy, the enemy stays dead until all your lives are up and you restart. There are also checkpoints that you can use which will help you along the way during these 6 lives that you have. But in all honesty, this game gets pretty difficult. It requires skill, creative thinking, and using resources. Speaking of resources, a bounty hunter wouldn't be a bounty hunter without an array of weapons and gadgets. Django mainly wields his signature dual pistols, which thankfully never run out of ammo. Oh yeah, another complaint is the attack button. Yes, you can hold the button down, but it doesn't shoot as fast as if you just spam it.
But hey, it'll improve your skills at fighting games.
Basically, if you don't got one of those third-party controllers with the turbo function, you're just gonna be smashing that X button like smashing pumpkins. You also unlock the flamethrower later in the game, which does exactly what you would expect. It actually becomes really helpful when you have groups of enemies all coming towards you. There are also a couple more items, but mainly you'll just stick to the pistols and flamethrower. I would use the toxic darts if only you didn't have such a low supply on them, but you would rarely use them anyways. You would mainly use these weapons to hunt bounties. Oh, right. There's also bounty hunting in this game.
You would think a game titled Bounty Hunter Bounty Hunting would actually be pretty fun, but it isn't.
It gets really annoying actually. There's NPCs around each level that you have to scan to see if they have a bounty or not. I just think that it's hilarious that as a bounty hunter, you stop dead in your tracks as most of the other enemies are trying to hurt you, and you have to be about 10 feet from your subject too. I think Django is quite possibly one of the worst bounty hunters.
Anywho.
It's honestly more trouble than it's worth, and I say that because it only unlocks little concept art photos. No stronger weapons you can buy, health packs, or anything. Concept art photos. That's the best that they could come up with. It's not worth it, unless you're trying to beat it 100%. Honestly, this game isn't for everyone. If you can get over the difficulty curve after the 3rd chapter and like it, props to you. After about the 3rd chapter for me though, is when I didn't feel like playing the game anymore. It just got so hectic, and I didn't have the dedication I had earlier in the game. When you die over and over, the frustration you get doesn't make the game fun anymore, but instead tedious. Also, the Bandogora leader Kamari Vosa looks like Asajj Ventress. Okay,
Overall, Star Wars Bounty Hunter is a pretty decent game, but it does come with a lot of problems. It also has an interesting backstory, as it tells most of the stuff that you would want to know before watching Attack of the Clones. And speaking of clones, why don't you subscribe to the Game Clones on YouTube? Wow, that was a terrible segue.